Baldur's Gate 3 broke modern gaming, and the outcry of its competitors has been at best a sorry attempt of the AAA gaming industry at excusing their mediocrity. The stats speak for themselves, as the game is now the highest rated game ever made on PC, but why is it? What did Baldur's Gate do so differently to the rest? Those are the questions I'm here to answer. The first thing they made sure they did well was not only deliver, but over-deliver. We've seen time and time again how games come sorely unprepared for release, but Baldur's Gate 3 was different. It had rare bugs here and there, but everything I and most other PC gamers saw was insignificant in the overall scheme of things. It's a generation-defining game. No DLC, no loot boxes, no expansion packs, a solid, complete experience, as well as a level of transparency and care we used to see in the early 2000s or 90s. But wait, how does this whole hype train match reality? Well, see for yourself. Starting with the character creator, the level of detail and options you have is impressive. Its focus seems to remain on just being an RPG that makes you feel a part of it, which is something that too many game developers underestimate when wanting to get a player involved. Similar in a way to Divinity Original Sin 2, you have the option to create a custom character with multiple different races and classes to choose from. The option to multi-class, choose stats, starter spells, and origins. You could also just choose an origin character, but I definitely think you're gonna be missing out if you're playing for the first time and you just choose the lame route. More impressive than its character creator is the story. It is out of this world. Seriously, it's profound and well thought out to the point of thinking, damn, the developers are fans too. It starts you off in a dire situation and introduces you to a couple of characters that find themselves in the same predicament as you. Even though my broad description makes it sound like a snooze fest, the hook is intriguing enough to keep you on your toes. And it's very well paced. You even end up liking the side quests because they surprisingly don't feel like fillers. Imagine that. Larian fortunately found a way to make them intentional and well thought out, which is refreshing in a gaming industry that just seems to copy and paste each other's ideas or do a mediocre job with secondary content. Now, your team members are also part of the exceptional writing. You create relationships with these characters and your actions gain approval or lower it, similar to Dragon Age Origins, which is already a high bar to be compared to, especially considering this IP used to belong to BioWare. Nevertheless, these relationships run deeper than you would expect, with many scenes and paths to choose from with each one. The voice acting is top-notch and expressive, making every piece of dialogue a fucking masterpiece. Alright, so up until now, I've basically described a good book, but not a good game. And you know what makes a game? Gameplay, which in this case does a great job at making sure you have a variety of different things to do within the world. If you find a fire spell, you can burn a rope or ignite a bonfire. You could also knock down a door with an axe or simply transport to the other side if you have the spell for it. The way you interact with your environment is unique and it's easy to notice a lot of attention to detail. Again, attention to detail that, let's be real, no other major company nowadays is doing. Like, doesn't matter who you look at, doesn't matter if you look at your Ubisofts, if you look at your Activisions, even sadly your CD Projekt Reds. CD Projekt Red is currently working on their masterpiece, but the reality is the way they released their game was horrible and just filled with lies and BS for not really that much functionality. While Cyberpunk was visually very impressive upon release, it really had a shit ton of bugs, and honestly, it didn't have anything too groundbreaking that we hadn't seen before, or we haven't seen in a long time. Moving on, in combat, there's never a dull moment either, as it has you relying on your multiple saves to think about the right strategy during your battles. It's always challenging, but manageable, though as any D&D game would, it does have some mechanics that fall heavily on its niche. It's a breath of fresh air if you don't exclusively play Fortnite, but if you are one of those people, this would probably not be something you'd be too interested in. The team had the balls and ovaries to get shit done and decided to stick to their passion instead of branching out for a quick buck, which I can honestly respect. Of course, even though this is one of the best RPGs in history, it's not entirely perfect. Touching a bit on the subject of graphics, I'd have to say that while BG3 isn't the most visually impressive game I've ever played, it is still very good. To a personal degree, I don't consider it to be a hindrance because it's enough to still be beautiful to look at with a variety of different environments, lighting, spells, and characters. I also believe that when it comes to RPGs, while visuals are important, they do play less of an important role when stacked up against world building, lore, and immersion to the story. So I think that them focusing most efforts on these areas is precisely what made the game so damn good. This is again something that a lot of people in the industry aren't doing, because since everyone wants to make the same quick buck that EA makes, everyone wants to branch themselves out to be a live service. And while that is maybe a lucrative endeavor, it definitely lowers the quality of the player's experience. Alright, so it's kind of pretty and it's really immersive. Okay, so what about bug squashing? It's hard to expect a game of this magnitude to be bug-free, right? The sheer size of the thing is enough to make any developer's head spin. However, for the majority of the game, I did not encounter concerning bugs. Small insignificant ones that pop up once in a blue moon, sure, but nothing game-breaking or that would make me want to stop playing. It's also important to note that due to Starfield being moved to a similar release window, Larian decided to release Baldur's Gate 3 a couple of weeks early on PC. This means that they did have less weeks to polish the game, but that they made sure it had its own spotlight without being affected by other big name releases. A worthy trade-off, in my opinion. The bugs they did find in later acts were fixed with updates quickly after release anyway, taking advantage of the better faring Act 1 and its length to get to 2 and 3 before the players did. Alright, so back to the main point. How again did this game break the gaming industry? Simple. If I had to give this game a rating of out of 10, I'd honestly give it a 10. It is by far the most complete and high quality game I've played in a very long time. They took a fraction of the resources that giants like Activision and Ubisoft take for granted and created a masterpiece. It made devs say it should be the standard and people shouldn't expect this level of quality to try and save their sorry asses by being humiliated by alpha gamer nerds that code. Could it improve in certain areas? Of course, but the changes will be minor and barely subtract from the experience I've had playing it. Perfection is impossible, but this is pretty close when it comes to nailing what the player wants out of a CRPG. Anyway, that is obviously my take on it. I do believe that this game is a egregiously good game and should get all of the praise that it is getting right now. What do you guys think? What's your opinion? Is it worth it? I think it's worth it. I think it is a groundbreaking game for modern gaming, but let me know what you guys think. And watch the other videos. I have a couple shorts out in regards to different dynamics on Baldur's Gate 3 as well as romance options with Shadowheart, so hey, if you want to pop up and look at those, feel free to do so. Alright, bye-bye!